For real. Let's do it live. Bert, what is up? Yeah, I'm not dead. Well, let me kill some music. Jam that before I hit the on this. And I think I got that done. Why am I getting that? Oh, I know why I'm getting that. I'm done. And I didn't do what I should have done in the first place. What you get when I don't go live forever. So now what is up, everybody? Um, all you perps out in perp land. Live. He's alive. So yeah, I am alive. Contrary to popular beliefs or wants from a lot of people, yeah, I'm still alive. Uh, Probably a few people unhappy about that shit, but I'm here. So anyway, no, I've been trying to keep up with everybody. Just been busy, been lurking in a lot of chats. Um, every once in a while, I'll surface, say some stuff, and then I'm on to the next thing I got to be doing. Run Gun, what's up? How's it going? Formerly known as Crow, that's it. Hey, Crow, what's happening, brother? So, so yeah, I am alive. Um, Give it a minute. I'll run an intro just because I got to test this computer out. I got to see how this is going to do because this is like a backup of a backup. So, because I've had some computer issues lately. So we're going to see. Hell, let's go ahead and play. Let's go ahead and run the intro. And then let's do it live.
This is Sparta!
Hey, boys! Look what I got here!
Hey, where are the white women at?
All right, so Krabby Turtle, what is up, my brother? DJ Play Nice checking in. What is happening? Sam of Anarchy, what's happening, my brother? Yeah, we got the crew checking in. So hopefully I'll be going 500. What's up, my brother? So hopefully I'm gonna find a niche where I can start doing more shows again, the share the pain streams, all that kind of stuff. Um, but it is deer season 2 here, kids, and I do like shooting deer, so that takes a little bit of precedent. What can I say? It is what it is. And if you guys deer hunt, you know exactly what I'm saying. Man against the masses, what's up? Of course, I'm still dealing with a damn sinus infection too, so that makes everything even more fun. So, dude, Warsaw. I listened to the Rahimi stuff while I was at work today. I don't know exactly how so-called promising that is. Here, let me mute and handle a call real quick. I had to take a call real quick. But yeah, the listening to, of course, some of the judges that we would assume would be on the rights of firearms ownership in this case, or on Second Amendment, as we want to call it sometimes. To me, they sounded like they were a lot reserved, and in some cases, like they were handling plutonium. Because the thing about it is Rahimi is not a. Everything I've heard about, I ain't met the guy personally. Hey, don't shoot me. Okay, yeah. MC, I muted the mic, so yeah, it should have muted both. Michael Dunn, what's up, brother? So the Rahimi case, everything I've heard about Rahimi, everything I've heard about this dude, he's not a good dude. But you have to think about it this way, guys. Most of the time, when our rights are actually challenged in a court setting, they're not being challenged because someone like Matt Hoover with CRS and the whole auto keycard bullshit. That's not the defendant that we get. We get a lot of times a criminal who's been charged with multiple counts, and what they're trying to do is knock off counts. So they get charged with having a gun and doing this and doing that, and then they go after, well, 922, what the fuck ever. Wait a second, the government shouldn't be able to disallow me from having a firearm in the first place. So they're just trying to knock charges off. The original challenge to the 1934 NFA was not done by good people. It was a dude named Miller, and I can't remember his co-defendant, but these weren't good people. But they were challenging the 34 NFA. So a lot of the people that we follow, Four Boxes Diner, and others, armed attorneys, a lot of guys like that will tell you, I mean, they're in that sphere that bad facts make bad law. Here's my argument with a lot of things is the judge's feelings should not fucking matter. Their political affiliation should not matter. The way the wind blows shouldn't matter. What should matter is these words that are written down on a page, and that's it. Did this conduct fit within this, or did the government's conduct fit within this restraint? That's the only thing that should matter. But we live in a world where the humans, and let's face it, shit don't work that way. Emotion, people's political persuasions, all that stuff gets worked into this stuff. So whereas I heard some good stuff, and we're not going to do it tonight because it's already almost 7. And these oral arguments went on for about an hour and a half. So we're not going to run through the whole arguments tonight, but we are going to do a Share the Pain stream on them at some point shortly. Even if I wait till, say, late Friday night or something and do a stream, I won't be able to just go rock out and be up bright and bushy-tailed for hunting in the morning. I'm just going to have to go to hunt a grumpy bastard with no sleep, but we'll probably end up doing something like then. See, you ain't right. Love you to death. But yeah, 500. Yeah, the whole shall not be infringed is pretty clear. But see, this is this is the jungle that we're in right now. Is that we don't have a justice system, we have a legal system, and in a legal system, the government gets away with a bunch of shit, because no one's held to the document. None of these judges are held to, this is what this means, and this is the only thing this means. This is an objectionable fact. And if you fall outside of that, your ass is off the bench. We don't have that. Look at the Seventh Circuit opinion. The Seventh Circuit opinion, we knew was coming out, and we knew it was going to be a shit show. We knew 2 of the 3 judges on that panel were absolute anti-gun idiots. So we knew the way that decision was going to go, regardless of constitutionality, regardless of state constitution, federal constitution, you name it. We knew the way those judges, 2 of those judges, were going to rule. Multicam would probably be cheaper, Gabriel. I'm just saying. Mannequins and masses, you are a responsible enough individual. I will let you judge the time on when you need to put yourself in a timeout. I will say this, while you're in a timeout, go ahead and make a couple of memes because you know you're going to anyway and you don't need to waste the fucking time. Just make the memes. Be wise with your use. So yeah, we're gonna do a stream hopefully sometime this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and actually listen to the oral arguments for the Rahimi case. And the state that people arguing for, the government in this case, are doing the same thing they always do. They're arguing a game of no matter what, we win. They've got a coin there with two heads on it, and they just flip it to you and they call heads while it's in the air, knowing you're going to catch a head. And by head, you can translate that into whatever thing with a head on it you want. I let you guys run them with your own senses of humor. Gabber, what's up, brother man? We doing the same old same, brother. Finally catching something where getting some things off my plate, some more things on my plate, and I've got to get back to streaming. And Elizabeth Warren, others proposing federal firearms. Yeah, dude, I did freaking videos on that. That's a retread, man. They put that out about every single year. The background checks on ammunition and stuff. When I initially started my channel, and I was doing the plasma cuts for each separate bill, yeah, there was background checks for ammunition in there, all kinds of stuff. Anything. Again, you got to remember who we're fighting with, kids. These people don't care whether they win this war this year, next year, 30 years from now. They don't care. And I'm talking mainly the leftists in that situation. They don't care whether it's decades from now. What you do have to realize is Republicans, so-called people that should support us, well, hold on a moment. Okay, my wife was texting me something for dinner, and I'll get back to that thought I was having in a quick sec. So the Republicans, people who are supposed to be defending our rights, and there are some that are. Don't get me wrong, there are a couple. They know that the left is eventually going to win this argument over firearms and bans and stuff like that. They know that's coming. They know the left is going to win most of their challenges to our freedoms, our rights, individual responsibility. They know that the left is going to win those. One, because they're spineless. Two, they're just absolute morons who have no idea what America is. That's coming from Montgomery, Alabama now. Hold on. We might take this one live. Let's see who this is. This is Cooper.
Hi, this is Congressman Barry Moore at 202-225-2901. I was calling to invite you to join a live telephone town hall I'm holding right now. I wanted to give you a few updates on the work I'm doing in Congress. Take some questions from you, too. Just stay on the line to be connected.
Please hold while we connect you to your Access Live event.
Okay, so we're going to mute that. We're going to listen to that in the background.
Access Live event is currently in progress.
Because that's my guy from Alabama, and of course, he don't represent me.
Sure, they're concerned about the economy. Sure, they're concerned about a number of things. The government going after conservatives and Americans. It was scary to get folks. And so I think for me, that has become an issue. And, I remember when you asked me, we were on the floor, you're like, hey,
can you guys hear that now?
doing it this year. And I'm like, damn, I'm just a garbage guy. Crossroads, Alabama, and you had to come at me. You said Grassley is a farmer. Does a pretty good job there, doesn't it? So that kind of compelled me. So you're on a great job on our It's been fantastic to do that. The fact that we've had Christian Ware,
Yeah, done. There's 3 cases. Rahimi just went. There's 2 more coming up.
the attorneys, those are pretty high-profile people within this government agency, but I think have some people.
I know you do, NC.
Number one, Jim, where do you see things going in the next few months concerning the impeachment of President Biden? Certainly, there's some new revelations that came out about some of the issues about where they were centering conservatives. So I just thought that if you could talk a little bit about that, start talking about that. I know it's kind of a big issue right now. Well, first of all, I think you're right. One of the biggest concerns we have is these federal agencies being turned on we the people, the American people.
Well, why he's saying this, hold on. I'll turn it back up in a second. But while the Democrats, the Republicans know the Democrats are going to win because they're spineless and they refuse to fight, they're running around this ship, putting as much money in their pockets as they possibly can and being controlled opposition. To them, it's all a show. It's a way to put more money in their pocket while the ship's sinking.
Why Russia went into Ukraine, why we had this terrible stuff happen to our dear friend, the state of Israel. But I think we can recover from all that.
Yeah, Tom Greaves is good too, man.
They attack the fundamentals where they attack the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, and they turn the very agencies that are supposed to serve the taxpayers against us. And that's what's been happening. We released a report yesterday that talked about how big government, big academia, big tech were all colluding to limit American First Amendment free speech rights and censor American speech. And it was disproportionately conservative. It was President Trump. It was Mike Huckabee. It was Molly Hemingway. It was the Federalist. It was all kinds of conservative. Some of our colleagues were censored. So we're trying to highlight that, and sometimes just the highlighting you can change behavior. A great example is the IRS announced a couple months ago they will no longer be making unannounced visits to American citizens' homes. And Commissioner Werfel said, we're doing this for the safety of our agents. Baloney. They're doing it because we caught it. Matt Taibbi, one of the Twitter files, the authors of the Twitter files, was testifying in front of our committee about censorship. And while he's testifying, the IRS was not on his door in an intimidation effort. We made a big issue of that, and the IRS changes their policy. So that's how you can actually affect real change. And let me go to this, folks. If you want to ask a question to the chairman, just hit *3 and we'll get you in the queue and take a couple of questions. Because I'm sure.
Hey, someone throw me a question real fast. I'm thinking of one, but I'm a smart ass.
They knocked on Taibbi's door the day he was testifying.
What do you say, *3?
So that was rather odd.
The Access Live event operator has been notified that you wish to ask a question.
Everyone called it, but no one has said, oh, no, this is just an accident. This is by chance. Like, everyone knows this was done to intimidate. And what was really interesting is Matt Taibbi comes in and says, like, a Democrat, now independent, he's like seeing the light in her business, their First Amendment and the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. But he's testifying, Democrats, while he's testifying on the committee, we're asking him to review his sources. They're like, we need to give these folks an education on how the First Amendment works, free to the press. And while he's, telling Democrats, that's how the First Amendment works, at that very moment, he fired on his door. Turns out they actually owed him money. Yeah, he did. They come down and do it. Yeah, you're right. Turns out that they actually owed him money. And, but yeah, it was intimidation. And
BV, what's up, brother?
We got in the Fifth Circuit on censorship, where the court down there said the FBI, the DOJ, the NIAID, the HHS, all these federal agencies were in fact censoring.
Is the stream moving pretty smooth, though, guys?
And we got a great decision there. I think this is going to potentially go all the way to the Supreme Court. I think we got a good decision there. That whole. So, Mr. Chairman, Jim, what do you think as far as what government agency concerns you the most right now? I mean, I guess there's so many moving parts. There's so many mistakes being made. Actually, with weaponization, but what are the things that just really keep you awake at night concerning this government? What we learned a week and a half ago that one of Senator Grassley's staffers, the government was actually spying on him, getting his phone records, getting his email records. Jason Foster, top staffer for Senator Grassley a few years ago. remember, Senator Grassley was investigating the investigators. He was investigating those people who were, part of the whole effort to file President Trump's campaign back with the FISA court and all that stuff that happened 6-7 years ago. And we find out that the government was actually spying on a Capitol Hill staffer working for a United States Senator Grassley. And so we now went to the various agencies saying, were there any other staff? Were there members that you were getting their phone records, getting their email records? So that's probably the scariest thing. So it's all part of this, this what we feel is. Keep going up. I was going from Barry Moore. This is Caleb. Can I get your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Hey, I was going to ask the representative how he is about, the Democrats and others are trying to push through these assault weapons bans. I was wondering where he came out on Second Amendment rights.
Hello? I think you cut out there.
I'm sorry. Which part didn't you get, brother?
You cut off right after the Second Amendment.
Yeah, well, I was wondering where he was at on Second Amendment rights, firearms ownership, whether he was for any sorts of restrictions on the Second Amendment or not.
Yes, sir. I'll be sure to pass that along. Can I get your name and where you're calling from?
Name is William Cooper. I'm calling from Seal, Alabama. Okay, sue me. I had to wing it.
They're in the queue. Appreciate the call.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to get you guys some better audio real fast.
Be doing.
Let me know if you guys got the audio.
Like when my Twitter came down, but I just got so frustrated when I was running in 20. Was like all the fact checkers. My stuff would be like proven false or taken down because of some fact checker. And now we're finding out that these fact checkers were actually working with Sanford and with our government agencies to actually quieten conservatives. My Twitter was taken down shortly after President Trump's Twitter was taken down.
That's right.
And my tweet, I thought it was pretty pithy, to use a word from Ohio, but it was actually because it was after you remember the podium got stolen out of Nancy Pelosi's office on January 6th, and when they caught the guy in Florida with the podium, there was a big celebration by the left media in the country that captured this terrible guy who stole Nancy Pelosi's podium. And I just tweeted, I said, wow,
I didn't expect this tonight. So, hey, here we are, kids.
January 6th, and we do a stolen election in November 3rd. They lost their minds and took my Twitter down. But it was just a fact. I mean, there were more arrests.
I wasn't expecting to listen to Barry Moore tonight.
I found that rather interesting, but it has been one thing from judiciary, I think, that I've learned is that there is no doubt in our mind. I believe this, that if Donald Trump had not have won the election in 2016, I don't think the American people would have had any idea how corrupt our government.
Right. I think that's right. There were a handful
of us
that
woke a lot of people.
A handful of folks in the press who, when President Trump wins,
not enough,
and the whole Mueller investigation happens, we start digging into. Start with Devin Nunes, God bless him, and we were able to figure out that they were spying on President Trump's campaign. And the thing that probably is the most frightening of all is it continues to escalate. They spied on his campaign. Then it was the Mueller investigation. Then it was impeachment 1. Then it was that they raid his home. Then it's a special counsel. They indict him in 4 different places, 2 by the special counsel. And now they got this trial in Colorado where they're trying to keep him off the ballot using the 14th Amendment. I mean,
so
they took the phone of a sitting member of Congress the day after they raided President Trump. It continues to escalate. Again, I think underscores why it's so important that we do this work. and make sure we find out
We're
exactly
expecting
what's
to pull
going
this
on,
up.
and then do everything we can to
Fire me.
stop
We're
it.
doing it live.
which-
Fuck it.
which
This
we're-
plane's
sure.
crashing.
And
bitches.
guys, like I said, if you want to
You're
ask a
in it with
question,
me.
press *3 on your phone, and I'm sure Chairman Jordan will be happy to answer a couple of questions.
Yeah, sure.
Do we have any questions at this point?
You guys already know it's a fucking shit show.
Okay, so the first question is Joseph. He has a question about Secretary Mayorkas. Joseph, where do you live, sir?
I live in Enterprise.
And I'm going to sound like a
Wow, you're a
complete idiot.
hometown guy then. So what's your question for
Fuck around,
Mr. Chairman?
I'm curious as to why investigations take so long and nothing ever comes of it. Like Mayorkas, he
Yeah.
shouldn't be there
Yeah,
anymore.
MC,
He should be
100%
charged
right,
with
bro.
crimes, in my opinion.
Joseph, great question. It's probably the number one question I get when I'm out and about in our district and frankly around the country. You were more diplomatic about it because most people will typically say, "Hey, Jordan, when is someone going to jail?" You know, they just cut right to the chase. And
That's a good
the
question.
truth is, we can't put anyone in
answer is
jail.
never.
All we can do is, under the Constitution, separate and equal branches of government, is we can do
And
our
Bernie, your
oversight.
brother, I can't
Do it in
remember
a way
whether I
that's
said
consistent
hey
with
to
the
you when you came in
Constitution,
or
get
not.
the facts
Man.
on the table, and then
Hopefully
propose
you're doing okay,
legislation
my
to
brother.
deal with it, and or limit money going to certain agencies that are engaged in the egregious
say it
behavior.
ain't
And
so.
so we're trying to do all that. We've got some good language. We've been and reducing
That's
spending
good
in some of these agencies,
Harsh
in
language.
particular the FBI. So that's all we can do. The investigations typically take time in Congress because the executive branch is always slow. on
Even
them.
assault
It
golf
takes
carts.
forever to get documents. It takes forever.
If I
to
had
line
an
these
assault
people up
golf
for
cart, it would
bringing
have
in
50
for an
caliber
interview.
machine guns mounted
Sometimes you have
on
to
that
subpoena
bitch.
them. So we do as fast as
DLG,
we
what's
can.
up,
We're
my
doing
brother?
literally most weeks we're doing 4
I've
and
been
5,
doing
6
a lot of
depositions a
lurking
week.
on you, homeboy.
This week this is a lighter. We only got 2 this week. We just had David Weiss today, in fact, who's the
I
U.S.
wasn't
attorney in
expecting to
charge of
play
Hunter
this
Biden
tonight,
investigation,
Dark. This
now has
just
special
popped
counsel
up.
status.
So,
So we're going as
Is
hard as
what
we
it is.
can.
and Gabriel, I
But yeah,
can't
we
remember
can't
what I said
prosecute
to you
anyone because
either,
we're the
brother. What's that?
legislative branch.
And I think that's important. We want to do it right too. I think we wanted to not be guilty of what I think the Democrats were with the impeachment of Trump, is rushing the thing and actually
Yeah.
making it more political than it was actually.
Yeah, is that the
regular
dude that was
process.
breaking
And two,
windows
I
and the
think,
dude ran
Jim,
him over
the
on the golf
702, the FISA abuses, we're looking at that
Donut
where
and
the
a couple
FBI
other
has
guys
actually
caught-
spied on many Americans and certainly the
I
Trump
don't know how many
campaign
people
and
covered
General
it, man. It was all
Flynn.
over
So
the place.
those are things we're addressing. And, one thing you mentioned to me some time back, and I hope we don't lose sight of this, is you mentioned at one time about moving some of these agencies
Yep.
out of Washington.
500
To the great state of
controlled
Alabama.
Yeah, with the
opposition.
FBI to the great
Yeah.
state of Alabama. But could you
President
imagine?
Huntsville,
Because
right?
yeah, I saw the other day that 90% of the federal employees donate to Democrats, and so they're in a bubble up here, and they love government. It's a cancer, right? It kills an organism,
So
and it
far,
just
it's
keeps
looking
growing and it
doing
keeps
okay
growing.
for
And so
it.
I often thought that was a great point that you made, and maybe we need to start decentralizing government from Washington D.C. back out to rural America, so that we actually hire
That's
people.
God's
who-
country.
God's country, people who love the country and who are not just living in a bubble, wanting to continue
Yeah,
to grow
what's
these
that- what's that
crazy
one?
budgets and abuse power. They're
But
people in
these
DC are
guys
so
talk
much
a
smarter
really
than the
good
rest of America.
goddamn game, but what do they do when they
yeah,
have
but
all the power?
you know, folks across the country and flyover country, they have this disdain for us in flyover country here in DC. But I feel like the folks in flyover country have common sense.
MC, man,
when
get
you
you
said
some
that
rest,
Hayline
brother. I
to
follow
start,
your
you know,
stuff.
Hey,
Watch
down where the ghost can
film.
get it.
Yeah.
Watch stuff on your
then maybe the
range.
other
and
one
they're
I was
always
like,
You
talking.
can borrow that. I don't- no
You guys
problem,
always
no
just
shit.
sound. You always say
Busy
like
man.
Buster.
So
Bless
take
his
it
heart.
easy,
You
my
always
brother.
say that
Get you some
too.
rest.
I don't think that's like a positive though. Is it like just a little negative?
Jim, when I say bless your heart,
If you guys
that's
aren't
not
following
compliment, my
MC,
friend.
Yeah.
you need to follow
so,
brother MC.
We do that a little bit, but not like you guys do down
So,
home.
so we digress. So Wanda, I'm sorry, from Dothan, you're on the phone. Wanda has a question, Jim, about the DOJ. So go ahead, Wanda.
Hey, Jim, this is Wanda Carroll. I was just wondering about, are y'all going to do the DOJ due to them constantly prosecuting Trump? This is just enough.
Yeah. Look, we've done all kinds of things. I remember when Alvin Bragg, you may remember when he first did the state indictment of President Trump in, he's the district attorney in Manhattan. We went up there for Barry was with me. We went up there for a hearing, and we talked about the record levels of crime happening. And while all that's going on, what is Alvin Bragg doing?
All
He's
this
going
is
after
a
President
show,
Trump,
and the
ridiculous
Republicans
charge.
are such controlled
So we
opposition.
try to highlight that as best we can.
But go back and
deal
look
with
at
it.
some of our
Um,
streams on, especially
look
firearms
into
related hearings,
both what
and watch
Bonnie
Mike
Willis, we've
Johnson.
sent her
Mike Johnson's
numerous
actually
letters.
been
She's the
pretty
one doing the
decent.
state charge in
Now,
Georgia. And then, of course,
Do
there's,
I think he's
Jack
the
Smith,
end all be
who's
all
got the
going to
one,
save us all?
special
House
counsel
Speaker?
indictment
No,
in
he's-
Miami against
he's
President
fucking
Trump, and
playing
the
the
other one
ball.
here in D.C. So we continue to do oversight of all
as long as
those.
it breaks,
Like,
Nancy Pelosi.
you're right. When I said this continues to escalate, it's like 4
Joe
criminal
Jim,
trials,
brother,
2
man,
civil
what's
suits, or 1 civil suit, and then the 2 because he's got the 2 in New York, and then he's got this crazy thing in Colorado. So it's 7 different actions that the left is taking against
If
President
you
Trump.
guys would have just joined in, this was a plan.
And we all may remember.
Artac, what's up,
So
bro?
it's
I
almost
wasn't
like
planning
you get
on,
numb
I
to
wasn't
it,
planning
and
on
we
streaming
can't let
this,
that
but
happen.
I got a
But
call while
a
I
year
was
ago,
home
August,
here.
I think it was
and
August
it
8th
started,
when
so
they raided his
we
home.
started streaming.
It's like one of those moments. I remember Polly and I were just like, we're out on our deck and we're just like watching the TV. It's like 10 something at night. And we're like, I can't believe this is happening in America.
Yeah, 500.
So, yeah, we're doing everything we can. Like I said, we had David Weiss in for a deposition or a transcribed interview today.
Dude, I used to be a true believer.
And we continue to dig
Go
into
back
that
and look
issue
at
as
almost a year
part
ago,
of this overall impeachment inquiry.
People need to
that
vote.
phase of
People do this.
oversight that we're in relative to
Republicans are controlled
So,
opposition.
Jim, with the recent developments, let me take another question because
They're
I don't
the,
want to keep
they're
you
the
too long.
fucking
I
dudes with
appreciate
the
you doing
Harlem
this. So,
Globetrotters.
Debbie from Dale County, she has a question on January 6th, and I know we get a lot of those questions as well. Go ahead, Debbie.
Yes, I'm just wondering about the J6 prisoners. When can we look for anything to be done
Sam,
about
if
them?
you were talking to Dark, I don't know.
Away
If
from
you're talking to
being
me,
angry to being
I got
just brokenhearted
3
in
right
their
now that I
treatment.
got to finish up.
And you know, it's
Talking to
going
Artac.
to soon be 4
Artac's
years
always.
since they've been incarcerated without some of them without a trial.
I got
I
3.
mean, some of them
Yeah.
incarcerated without a trial. So,
One I just got
give
finished.
me some good news on that, please. Give me some hope there.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any more. We continue to monitor that as well. Again, it's just
Continue to
almost like
monitor it.
well, we had a colleague, if you may remember, a few weeks back. I guess it was about 6 weeks ago, who pulled a fire alarm and tried to disrupt an official proceeding on the House floor, and basically nothing happened to it.
Cool, Artac.
And yet,
How
you
building,
have
bro?
the situation where folks who were here at the Capitol on January 6th, the kind of treatment they're getting. Now, some of the people did wrong things, and Barry and I and everyone else have said if you did wrong, we've been consistent. We've condemned violence whenever it happened. We condemned it when it happened on January 6th, 2021. We condemned it when it happened the entire summer of 2020, all across the country. 100 days siege laid to the federal courthouse in Portland, Oregon, that the left was involved in. So we've condemned it when it's happened. And if people did things wrong on January 6th, they should be held accountable. But to your point, it's supposed to be swift justice.
Yeah, Warsaw. I
And
gotta
some of
keep
these
an eye
people
out
have been
for that.
held for
I
the
knew that was
longest
coming.
time.
I gotta keep an eye out.
And then you compare that to what happened to one of our colleagues who pulled the fire alarm and tried to disrupt an official proceeding of the House. We were voting on important matters that day.
Yeah,
it is frustrating, but we continue to monitor this and do all we can.
Viking.
Yeah, and that's the one thing too. And to your point, I think that Heather worries about that a lot. There's January 6th, and that is constantly in the front of our minds because we think there are truly political prisoners in this country right now. So certainly that's something that we have to
If
keep.
there was truly
keep our
free speech,
thumb on the
I would
pulse, if you
say
will.
exactly.
Jim, there's just so much corruption
running
within
around
our
my head
government.
right now.
It's so weaponized. And I know that you're doing what you can do. It's just a lot to say grace
I know
over,
I can't
especially
do
being
that.
chairman of the judiciary. I think Newt Gingrich said this would be the most important committee this
Well,
Congress, and the work that
my
we've been
channel
doing.
was
I think
always
the-
on its
the
last
belt that we're
legs
pulling
when
back
we started
for
it,
the corruption within the system.
We're just gonna
And
we're gonna see how long it
brought
takes
to
to
light, I
fucking
think,
burn
are really
it.
important, and they're playing out well. I think the American people are waking up. So,
today.
okay, folks, I want to ask you a question right quick. We got an opportunity.
No.
You've asked Jim quite a few.
And for you guys
we're going to ask you a question.
that don't realize it.
Which government agency do you believe to be the most corrupt in
Probably
America? If
4
you think it's
times
the DOJ, you
some of
press
these
1.
things to
The IRS,
really
press 2.
begin to break
FBI,
me
press
down.
3. CIA, press 4. And then press 5 for all the above. So I figure we'll get a lot of 5s on that, Jim, based on that.
That'd be my guess.
So for every agency, we've talked about it.
That'd be my guess.
So remember
Bless your
now-
heart, right? Bless your heart.
Yeah, bless her heart. So if you folks want to know, we want to know what your thoughts are on what's the most weaponized government agency. So 1 for the DOJ, 2 for the IRS, 3 for the FBI. I'm looking at my notes. 4 for the CIA and 5 for all the above. So Jim, I think out of those agencies, we're asking questions about.
Where do I
we've had
put the
most
number
of
in
those
at?
people testify
Yeah, fuck it.
in front of our committee. So
He didn't even mention it.
I think they're all pretty.
How do you not even mention the ATF?
But anyway, y'all answer what you want to, and so I'm gonna take a. Go ahead. Yes,
Well, I was just going to say, we talk about all this. There's still good news out there. still the best country ever. And I always try to because
Still,
sometimes we're dealing with it all. We see all the baloney, we see all that stuff that's going on, and it's like, man.
Still the most.
But I always tell folks, and I get a chance. I was in Texas last weekend.
Sons of bitches.
Or last, I should say. And
on this planet.
there are so many good people who think like the folks who are calling in tonight and talking with us. So
Yes,
happened
to
Target.
Yeah.
When you see Jason Aldean's try that in a small town, go to the number one song in the country, and then Oliver Anthony out of nowhere, the rich man north of Richmond. What that tells us is there are massive community out there in America that are fighting with us. And by God, they're waking up. And I think that's encouraging. I know it's encouraging to you. It has to be for me to see. And we're not in this fight alone because very often, like I remember when the vaccine mandates came
and
in,
I used
to force that on
brass.
There was a group of guys at Southwest
There's
Airlines
a reason I did it. And I told the
they were all
dude
pilots, and they didn't show up to work. And
why I did it.
CEO walked
But I
that
used
back
9mm
because
brass.
He realized that, hey, you know what? These guys are going to take
cut that I've sent out
and
so
if the
far.
American people take
so
a stand, there's
afraid
nothing quite like
the
that.
post office
And it's like you
break
talked
that
about
shit
those
to
flyover
pieces.
states.
Yeah.
Bless their
And then
hearts,
I'm going to
they're
be
in the-
freaking
bless this bunch hard. They don't wake up to that, right? I mean,
everything.
there's a massive humanity in this fight. All right, so this is a friend of mine, Matt Chansey from
So
Enterprise. He has
coded
a question about weaponization. Matt,
I love the
go ahead, Matt.
his art. I just
Hey, how you doing, Barry?
designed.
I'm doing
Any
good, my
friend
friend.
of Barry's got to be a good guy. Matt, go ahead, man.
Chairman Jim, I really appreciate everything you do for us. I appreciate and I really appreciate the discussion about the weaponization of federal agencies. And there's something that
I know.
Someone told me once.
I know
if
that
you
joke
feed it, it
probably
grows.
will, but look at the fucking
Starve it,
president.
it dies. And so much of the battles that we're facing right now are not that the federal government or these agencies are doing.
No, I haven't looked
They're
at the
just
Zev
overreaching
stuff,
their
Sam.
authority. They're actually going way
I've been hearing
beyond
more
what they're
about it.
allowed to. They're breaking the law, and then they're coming before your committees and they're lying. Or they're just not. Or they're just they get
got so much
amnesia
shit I wanna
when they
build,
come
but
before you. So you can
I'm
haul them
like you
before
guys.
your
I
committee all you
work for
want,
a
and they're
living
going to have
yeah,
amnesia or
money
just
goes quick.
flat out tell you, and they're not going to tell you. You answer
all of
your
my goody
question,
builds.
and there's no repercussions. None of them ever get fired.
There are a lot of them I just
And
can't
so,
sprung right now.
so what do you have left? And I think
where
that the
we're at.
budget. We just come through a major budget fight, and we see
The
where
battle's
really
never
that's the
going to be
lifeblood
over, Warsaw.
of the beast
Not until
is
they're
the money.
in our coffin.
And so it may be that they won't feel the heat until they won't see the light until they feel the heat. And so it's kind of like just
take their money. Yeah.
cut their funding, and then they'll start talking to you. Cut their budget by $20 billion, and then you'll get a lot more response from the IRS perhaps. So I'm wondering if that's where we're at and what you guys think about this upcoming budget fight and where this is. We may have some leverage. I know you guys are the minority, but you may have the leverage.
Yeah, no, great point. The power of the purse is the founders in their wisdom when they set up the separate and equal branches of government. If there was one branch that they kind of wanted to be a little more equal than the others, it's supposed to be the legislative branch, and in particular the House, because all taxing and spending legislation has to start in the House of Representatives. So the bills we have done on the appropriations funding the government, we are spending less money than last year, which is hardly ever happens around this place. So that is a move in the right direction. We got certain language in there that limits how the money can be spent on the DOJ budget, the FBI budget, the Homeland Security budget, agencies that our committee deals with. So we feel like we're making some progress. Now, we're never going to get as much as we want because we got divided government. We got Joe Biden in the White House. We got Chuck Schumer controlling and the Democrats controlling the Senate.
You guys have
we do feel like we can make some progress, and that's what we're trying to do.
And two, Jim, I think there's a uniparty
House
up here in
yeah.
D.C. Would you agree with that? I mean, you and
And
I are both
majority.
kind of House Freedom Caucus guys, but I
You
think
guys
a lot
still
of
find a way to
ways there
fuck
is
us.
a
So why do I believe you
that
that
it's the
you're
business as
trying so
usual
hard,
system
but you
that's
just
so
don't have it?
difficult. Now, I'm encouraged by the numbers in HFC and then the fights. I think the fights that we've seen recently play out, it shows that I think there was a fight within conference, Jim, and it seemed like to me and that there was because
Sam, I got to look at
about
that there, and
70%
man,
of our
like I
conference
said, there's
is
so
news
much stuff I want to
So
freaking
there's a
do.
new blood coming in. From
I'm like
all
you
over
guys,
the
man.
country.
Once
And I
Once
think
I
that was
got
kind of
the
why the
bug
speaker race played out like that. I think it was so much of it.
and had a
Like,
couple
we're not going to
people
have
in
business
front of
as
me that
usual.
ran
And so
work
that kind of pushed
everything.
back, got Kevin vacated. And so crazy
Yeah,
things happen through that process. And
Yeah.
but I think in some ways that's encouraging me too, because that
$1,000 tomorrow.
people thought, well, that they can't govern. No, it wasn't that at all. I think it was
I'm
just
looking at, and I'm like,
the
man,
change in the
that's
guard. It was a
cool.
system coming. And of course, some of them didn't want to because you put a lot of downward pressure on.
And then the
so
the
we
crazy
had our own
stuff.
battles there. But I think that at the end of the day, I think the country is better people like you or
I don't know why. There's this idea that I have. I've got a hard on for it. Where I want to be like
this, right?
Gerald A.
But for you to
Chamber,
serve,
what's
y'all
up,
put
my
the time,
brother?
energy, and like, man, that's good for our country. It's
Wow.
good for the process,
Big
and I think the way we're
Right,
seeing
man.
power, the structure within this system, that's why it looks painful. It looks like we can't govern, but there's real change coming to DC, and I'm encouraged by it. So,
Yeah.
let me give you guys the results of this
How many
question.
of
And
these
so,
fucking
y'all kind of
slogans
agree
have-
with me. I think I might have led that. That was
Real
kind of like a
change
leading
coming.
answer when I said all the above, because 77% of you folks said all the above. And one thing we did recently, and I think that was pretty neat, it addresses some of what Matt was talking about just now, was that we just took $14 billion from the IRS that wanted to hire. You remember, Buzz and them wanted to hire all those new
I
IRS
sounded like
agents.
an idiot
Isn't that
asking
our
my
best friend
question
Israel,
on my
right?
phone because I
so
was
that
going and got lost for a second.
continue to lead like
So
that,
I
and
doubt
think
whether
we're,
they even play my
we're gonna
question.
be in best
We'll
shape.
see.
So, Jim, I'm going to have you go. Do you mind doing one more
Sure.
question?
One
And
more
then we'll
and
let you out of here. You
Yeah.
got to go. Okay, so Floyd Graham from
Hell
Enterprise
yeah.
has a question.
That's another gun that I
guess it's a
have
question
not
about impeaching
got
Biden. I was going to
built
ask you that
yet.
one anyway.
As
So,
much as I love
Floyd, go ahead.
Evans, as much as I
Well,
want
I
to
actually
build one,
have
it's
a
another
few
one that's just on
questions.
that list.
One was about the fact that if we were to go after the impeachment of President Biden, that leaves us with Kamala Harris. Is that a good thing? Especially since the end of Biden's term is right here. Number one. Number two.
Yeah,
I
DB,
really
man, I'm
would
still
like
alive.
to have
I'm still old,
your
fat, ugly.
insight
I'm broke
on
down.
the debacle
broke
that we
bitch,
had
all that.
with the Speaker of the House, of getting another Speaker of the House, and why that took so long. Because I will tell you, in my opinion, that was an embarrassment to the country. Also, Congressman Moore, I really appreciate all the time that you spend here in the Wiregrass. I've attended a lot of your meetings at Enterprise High School and other places, and you really listen to us, and I really appreciate you. And
Now,
you
how
got
many
my
of you
vote
guys
every
were
time.
like me when it came to the house?
Floyd, I
speaker
appreciate
getting
that.
voted
I
out
appreciate you saying that.
and finding a
Jim,
new
you
house
want to hit
speaker?
on
And we
you
were
know,
all
that,
like,
and
"Fuck
then
it,
I'll
we
let
don't
you
care."
go to
Well,
dinner.
yeah, we'd
As long
prefer
as
not to have to
it's
go through the whole
functional like that, they
the
can't
whole
pass
speaker,
any bad laws. That's
issue.
where I was at on it.
I actually thought Kevin McCarthy was doing a good job, but some of our colleagues wanted to move to vacate the chair, and they did that, and we wound up with
I'll check it out.
what happened over the last month. Relative to Biden and the Vice President Harris, impeachment should be driven by the facts. That's why we're in the inquiry phase of our oversight impeachment inquiry, where we got the Ways and Means Committee who are dealing with the whistleblowers. We got the Oversight Committee dealing with the bank records, suspicious activity reports from Treasury Department dealing with that, and then our committee is dealing with how David Weiss handled the investigation. I think
because they know
the crux of the matter is, I'll be real quick here, is there are four facts that I think drive this whole issue about Joe Biden
and then they have
and
to
whether it warrants actual articles of impeachment. Fact number one is Hunter Biden gets put on the board of Burisma. Fact number two, Hunter Biden wasn't qualified to be on the board of Burisma. He said so himself.
That's what it's about.
Fact number three, the executives at Burisma asked Hunter Biden, "We need help from the pressure we're under in our country from the prosecutor. Can you help?" Fact number four, he calls Joe Biden. Joe Biden, 5 days after Hunter Biden gets that request, goes to Ukraine, gets the prosecutor fired, and leverages your tax dollars, our tax dollars, to make that happen. $1 billion of American money. And then, of course, you have the Justice Department trying to sweep it all under the rug. So in short, this is a tale as old as time, where you have a politician who takes certain actions that benefited his family, and then they try to
They would have shut every
that's what happened. I think that's the crux of the matter. And we're looking at all the facts to make sure
Joe Biden and his corruption was sorted out,
a bribery or a high crime misdemeanor and qualifies and should be put into articles of impeachment. That's what we're doing. And if the facts dictate we go there,
my brother from up north.
Jim, thank you for your time, man.
Thank you,
friend.
brother.
God bless you. Y'all enjoy.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so guys, we're going to go ahead and I'll pick up now that Jim left off. We had a couple of questions, and Floyd, let me get to your question right quick. I didn't get a chance to answer it.
I had no idea this call was
wanted to make sure we heard from the chairman before I stepped in. So,
whereas you see it on the video there, I got the call on my cell phone,
and whether or not that would result in President Harris. And remember, this has to be passed through the Senate as well. So right now, I don't think that's likely that the Senate and Schumer would impeach Biden. Now, I think Biden's in trouble in the polls. So I think right now, head to head, Donald Trump beats him hands down. And so, I think it's important, though, for the people who want us to hold them accountable. And I think that there has to be some questions raised about the $200,000 check, the $40,000 check, the 10% to the big guy. And then the Democrats say, "Oh, there's nothing to see here." Well, meanwhile, they're investigating Trump for every little thing that might have ever happened in his administration or even in his life. And so certainly I think that the likelihood of Harris becoming president of the United States is slim to none in a sense if the House impeaches Biden. But I think the people expect us to hold him accountable. I think we need to do that and probably will. The first part of the year, there'll be probably some articles of impeachment. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see them. And look, after what we found out today with this spying on our conservatives and what Mayorkas did to DHS, y'all remember some time back, he had this disinformation board set up. And when it came to the floor when actually we got him in committee, it wasn't us, I think it was oversight, and asked him about that, the disinformation governance board. Well, they walked it back and went away, and then they went behind our back and started trying to move that thing through. And this
they went behind
election integrity partnership that we just found out about in the last couple of days, where they were working with universities and then Meta and some of the media people, the social media people, and the government itself, and they were taking conservatives down, which Jim touched on that. That is something that certainly needs investigating, and people who were involved in that need to be held accountable. If that's impeaching Mayorkas, I'm all for it because he's supposed to be taking care of our border too, and we see how well that's working out for the American people. So, all right, so I have another poll question for you folks, and let me get my little cheat sheet right here. So the next question is: do you support the Democrat mission to hire 87,000 new IRS agents? And you can press 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3 if you don't have an opinion or are unsure.
Matt,
this time now I'm going to take another question from some of the folks. Thomas from Delville, question about Hunter Biden. Go ahead, Thomas.
Never impeach him.
Yes, I want to know why Hunter Biden got away with out paying taxes and got free from illegally buying a gun. And if that would have been any of Trump's children, they would have been under the jail.
DB,
there's no question about it. I tell you too, the one thing that
a lot of
times,
times,
that's why we've got David Weiss coming in
the top side of
week
the rails on
next
the
week.
train.
Actually, he's going to be
the bottom side. He'll get it
having a hearing. Because Weiss was the one that was supposed to be investigating,
and then he just lapping compounds it in.
And what we found now is they slow walked that process. They wouldn't let the IRS agents go to Hunter's house. They wouldn't allow any investigation.
Bumping it back and forth.
So that the statute of limitations expired. So we are now trying to get to the bottom of the investigators we're actually investigating the investigators and trying to find out why in the world would you
There's basically too much metal there in the first place.
You didn't have the authority when you told us in the memos that he had full authority.
And
so we're now starting to get to the bottom of that, but all of that was to cover Joe Biden. We're convinced at this point, we're going to prove it the next couple of weeks, that Weiss actually slow walked that investigation so that the statute of limitations on tax evasion and fraud would expire so that we couldn't tie it back to Joe Biden. But I think that the time is coming for Hunter Biden. It might not be till we have a different administration, but there will be some accountability held on these IRS issues, certainly tax evasion.
We have to give
probably some other things too. I think these shell corporations where they move money around. My biggest concern right now and going forward is just the policy impact that it's having. What deal is Biden cutting with Ukraine? What deal is he doing behind our backs with China because he is bought and paid for? That's a bigger issue for national security purposes. So right now, that's certainly part of it. But we have our work cut out for us. And the more we dig, the more we find. It's crazy how corrupt this administration is. And, a couple of years ago, we were all called conspiracy theorists. Money overseas, wow, those guys really, all these companies, they were spot on what they were talking about.
Construction companies, everything else gets filtered down into their pockets.
So now I'm going to take a question from Ms. Elizabeth Powell from Newton about political persecution. Go ahead, Ms. Elizabeth.
Yes, I was just wondering, other than vote, what can we do? We see all the injustice going on and everything that's wrong, but people are scared to stand up and speak up for fear of getting locked up, like the J6 people that's still in jail that really didn't do anything. What can we do, Mr. Moore?
January 6th.
I vote for you every time. If I could vote for Jim Jordan, I'd vote for him. But
made a call to credit
he's
card
a great chairman on these investigations. But
America.
People,
said,
what can
we need
do?
everybody's
stand
data.
up for fear of being locked up.
I would agree with you. I would
in
vote
this
for Jim Jordan
geographical
too,
area.
if I could. Actually, Ms. Elizabeth, a couple things. I think that voting is important. Educating
if that person has ever used,
I think the nation, there's always perfect wisdom and courage up here because we have to
we want that information on top.
Complex system it didn't devolve.
If they bought a firearm within those days,
it's over time this thing has become corrupt and has grown. And I think I pray for wisdom on how we
Yes,
navigate
those
that.
things
And I think
can
what
be-
Jim and I hit on earlier is
we
need to start
they
decentralizing
can't use these
government from
codes to track
Washington, D.C.
firearms.
I think that
Yes, they
the
can.
IRS came before us wanting a bunch of money this year. No, I'm sorry, the FBI for a new building. And we're like, nope, not going to do it. We might build you a new building in Alabama somewhere where you can hire people from regular everyday America that are not a part of this broken system. And so there are ways I think that we find that we discover.
GG3, what's up, my brother, man? We haven't. I haven't been
The key
around.
right now is decentralizing
Screened and
power back to
forever.
the
So,
states
man,
and
it's
back to
good
the
to
American
see
people.
everybody tonight.
Moving these
brother.
agencies
Good to
out of the
see you, G.
swamp, because there are some of these folks up here. Honestly, they've been underwater so long. I tell everybody they've developed gills. They don't come up, but they're working against the American people. That weaponization process is certainly concerning. Like I said, I had my Twitter taken down a couple of times. And when they're just throttling back your social media stuff, your conservative messaging, that First Amendment right, we just discovered that this week. So we certainly have our work cut out for us. But hey, I would tell you this. Let me encourage you: don't give up, because what we're seeing, you're voting with your dollars too. It's not just the vote it's not just that vote at the ballot box. When everybody stopped buying Bud Light, that sent a pretty doggone good message to Anheuser-Busch. When people stopped going to Target to shop, that sends a strong message. When people buy, like I said earlier, when they support Jason Aldean, try that in a small town. Some of this, there are many millions of Americans that agree with you and agree with me on what we need to do and what we can do in this country. But vote with your dollars. Don't be afraid to speak up. I think with leadership, a lot of times y'all think we can fix it all. We can't. But if you're standing with us, we don't mind being the tip of the spear. So we'll continue in that fight. But I would encourage you to pray for our country. And to vote with your dollars, and make sure you show up and get your friends to vote too. So if you want to ask a question, guys, press *3, and we'll make sure we try to get to your questions before we get off this here tonight. And
basically, right.
So what's up next, team?
Off and go in the woods. There's a couple.
*3 if you have any questions, guys, and then I can talk a little bit about some things I hope we get to accomplish this week. Okay, so here's the answer. 91% of you guys were against the 87,000 new IRS agents, and I'm surprised there were 9% of you out there that even would support getting the IRS agents. But hey, it is you do you. But 91%, only 2% supported it. So a lot of people are undecided.
You do the rest.
Sorry, guys. I'm getting the polls as we're getting them. I'm just trying to read you the data. I feel like I'm on election night.
Speaking of 1911s.
Anyway, so 91% are against us hiring IRS agents. And look, we were
right
against that. I think that's a horrible idea, especially when you figure they're letting Hunter Biden get the pass on not paying his taxes. We're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. And oh, by the way, we're going to hire 87,000 IRS agents to go out and harass American workers, people who are out there trying to make a living. And we get it. I see what's happening with inflation alone, just trying to make ends meet. And they're going to hire agents to go out and try to get more of the money and give the president, his son, his family a pass on all those taxes. We don't need more IRS agents. And so let me say, last week on Friday, I think it was the bill. Friday was when we passed. We decided to take $14 billion back from the IRS and move it over to Israel's defense. And I think that's money much better spent for America. So now I've got a question from Abby from Red Level about election fraud. Go ahead, Abby.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question, and thank you for everything you do. My question is, what are we doing in Alabama and across the United States to help prevent election fraud? I really believe that when Doug Jones won the election a handful of years ago, that was kind of the pilot program for the Democrat Party, and they used that as a launch to continue to do the election fraud that they did. So that is my question about election fraud.
Oh, that's her. Wait.
I'm glad you asked that, Abby. I found it interesting today that I guess there was a judge in one of the Democrat-ran precincts said there was so much fraud they're going to have to redo the election. And anybody else right now that said there's election fraud, like the former president of the United States, any of his team or staff, they're actually on trial for trying to undermine the election or, do something to impede the integrity of an election in certain states. And so it's kind of coming home to roost in some ways. And I was glad to see that the judge actually had to turn over an election in a Democrat region so that they can say that there's election fraud no longer, because in fact there is, and we know it. We all know it.
A lot of the normal
groups, 2,000 years no doubt geofencing that there was moving. There were a lot of ballots
fire chamber
places in certain states that made a difference in the
a lot of normal crews.
I think for one thing that I try to tell people is a lot of our states do a pretty darn good job. I think we try to manage it well, but I can say I think COVID caught many states. I think they broke a lot of their own rules. A lot of the secretaries of states maybe broke some rules, and they didn't let the legislature govern because they weren't in session, or either they were just like, this is an emergency procedure. So, you know, I hope that there are states that are passing laws about voter ID and certain things like that I think are going to help that process going forward. And hopefully we don't ever let them shut us down again. I mean, it blew my mind that we would let people just mass mail in ballots. I mean, the way that COVID was handled, the drop boxes, this just ballots shipped all over the place. And listen, in my election alone in November 2020, it was odd because my kids always vote for me. They vote for me out Pleasant, Alabama. And they voted for me in the primary. My kids all voted for me. They voted for me in the runoff. Everything was fine. The day of November election, when I was against the Democrat on the ballot, 2 of my kids were told they'd already voted absentee. So we had to take provisional ballots. And to me, that was so odd. That had never happened to our family. My kids always voted for me. So they voted for me in a 7-way primary. Then they voted for me in a runoff. Everything was fine. And then the Moore family shows up on November 2020 for a general election against the Democrat. And 2 of my kids were told they'd already voted absentee. And so for us, we saw then that maybe there was a little problem because Alabama was fairly secure on our elections, and that's a small precinct. It would have been hard to just say there's mass fraud there. I don't think it was, but that just told us then there had to be some issues going on. There was a bunch of ballots mailed in.
16, I think me and the wife waited like 4 hours.
Told they voted absentee, and that was not the case. And so anyway, so that's a concern. We need to keep our thumb on the pulse of the election integrity. Yeah, that's a good question. And I think there's some people that have
waited 8 hours.
The realization that we need to have poll watchers keeping an eye on things that are going on in the country. So,
I see.
Okay, William Foshi, Ozark, Alabama. Question about Rep Tlaib. Go ahead.
Who was copying? Oh goodness.
Oh yes, sir. I just got a question about
should be in the top drawer.
Tlaib is flying the Palestinian flag in our Capitol building.
Freezer, refrigerator,
and she's come to the conclusion that wants the demise of the United States.
You'd be hacking my lungs out.
And I just don't understand how she's allowed to stay in office when she clearly does not support the United States.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's tough to take an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and then say you don't support the United States. I don't know how you do that, but I've actually signed on a resolution and I'm bringing it to have her to remove that flag. So, you know, I'm with you. We don't need that flag flying here. And
for tomorrow,
we were in Israel a few months ago before all this went down, and I remind everybody that most of the weapon systems that you see in Israel were defensive weapons, whether it was reactive armor on their tanks, or it was the Iron Dome or the Iron Beam. It was all about defense.
Of the
always
missile battle.
I guarantee you this: there would be no war if there wasn't Hamas aggression, Palestinian aggression towards the people of Israel. And so the people of Israel are people of peace. Like I said, most of their weapons are defensive weapons. Now they have a right now to go in and take care of things. I think this was their 9/11. But for Tlaib to be out here flying the flag and saying that it was Israel that attacked that hospital, and we know now that it wasn't. She knew that it wasn't, but she was out propagating bad information. And it concerns me what I'm seeing in universities. And I'll just tell you this: if you're Jewish and you're liberal, and you're donating to liberal universities around the country, you need to stop sending them money. You need to stop voting that way because those people do not care for you. They will destroy you, and they will allow your country to be destroyed. And so for the life of me, I encourage people to wake up and understand. You're seeing it on these Ivy League universities where these kids actually, it reminds me of things we saw in 1944. It's crazy what's going on to Jewish people in our communities and in our society. People getting murdered. And the way Hamas moved through the Gaza Strip and the things, it was brutal. It wasn't just wasn't gunfire. It was murdering children, putting them in ovens. It was chopping babies up.
Give me a second, guys. I'll be right back.
It's insane what happened to those people who are peaceful people. And so I told Benjamin Netanyahu, I didn't tell him. He just told us he was going to defend his people and take care of his country. I encourage him to do that. And if we wipe Hamas off the face of the earth, it can't be soon enough. And so anyway, so that's kind of my take on that. And that's just how it is. And so, okay. So now we got another question. I get to poll you guys again. And so, do you believe this country has a two-tier justice system? Press 1 if you believe yes, no. If you think, press 2 if you think no. Press 3 if you're unsure. So the question for you guys is, do you believe this country has a two-tier justice system? And press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're unsure. Okay, so now I get to take a question from over in Covington County from Cindy in Andalusia about term limits. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, I had a question about, and thank you for taking my call. about term limits. Is this being discussed in Congress? Because I see all these career politicians who are becoming multimillionaires, and they seem to be more concerned about their reelection and what they can do.
What's
to
up,
get
Brother
themselves
Z? What's happening,
reelected
man?
year after year, versus the good of our country.
Well, what
Yeah,
is the
so Cindy, I
unplanned
think term limits.
still?
I've certainly signed a term limits pledge, and then when I served in the state legislature, I did 8 years and thought I was going to get out of politics. I thought the good Lord was going to let me go home and be done with this crazy stuff, and then He called us to run for Congress. And so, Cindy, there's a couple of things I find kind of interesting up here. The House members, we run every 2 years, and it kind of keeps you in touch with the people. But the thing that I find most troubling about what goes on up here is some of these committees and the money that these guys have to raise to give to the party. And so they have to take all this money from these donor class, from these I guess, lobbyists, for lack of a better word. And as Jim was here earlier, that's what happened to Jim on his speaker race. You had a bunch of lobbyists who had horsepower who run some of these committees up here. And they didn't want Jim Jordan to be Speaker of the House because he was going to cut down, he was going to slow down some of the spending. He was going to put downward pressure on spending. And there were members on those committees that came after Jim Jordan, who was the second most popular Republican in America, who most of America wanted Jim Jordan to be Speaker. Most of the calls I got here was that case. So, it's this system itself is broken. And unfortunately, you get people here who love the power. They love the job. They like doing it. Some of us not so much.
98%.
There might be. There are a lot of good people like that. And so, I've come up with a couple ideas myself to try to get people out of here. We're going to have to come up with something rather than just a term limits pledge. And so I've come up with a couple of options about just trying to figure out a way to get these guys to pack their bags and go home. And let's bring some new people in here that are not a part of the system, who have not risen to the top in some of these committees, and who love the power and love the prestige of being here doing this job. And so, I've signed term limits pledges. I think we have to couple with that with some other things as well. I've even, I've offered some things to allow them just to take their golden parachute and go home, because in corporate world, that's what we do sometimes. Up here, they're just going to stay until they can't find their way around. My gosh, if you look at the leadership within some of the governments or elected people we have now, whether it's in the White House or even over in the Senate, even here in some committees, some of these people needed to retire 10 years ago. But anyway, that's just my opinion, and y'all feel free to share it. All right, so David from Delville, question on the Second Amendment. Go ahead,
what's
David.
up, my brother?
Yeah, so I'm going to qualify my question a little bit. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a small business owner. I've been a lifelong resident of Alabama with
rocking and
the exception
rolling
of my
Jay.
military
That's it.
service. I purchased an AR pistol that came straight from the factory, straight from the gun store, with the stabilizing brace. So throughout the years, that AR pistol has been illegal, then it was legal, then it was illegal, then it was legal. Well, now it's a felony if I get caught with it.
Agarizer.
There was an amnesty period where you can register it. I tried to
Luke,
do
my
it,
brother.
and it was denied because I missed a period on the form that I filled out. Now,
All right, sorry about that, guys. Hold on. We lost it for a minute. Let me get back. Well, why am I still not getting audio? No, go. Why am I not getting audio? What happened?
That you have to wear a mask, and I'm thinking I never voted on a federal law that said I had to wear a mask, but it's these agencies that come out here and try to
the internet just
rules and call it
freaking
law. You're breaking the law. You're not breaking the law. You're breaking a rule. But anyway, ATF they're working on that, and we're certainly aware of that. And believe me, we got some great Second Amendment guys, like I said, some federal firearm guys who are in Congress, got elected in my class, and we're going to push back on that, Dave. That's a good question, but under no circumstances do you ever turn your guns into the government. I'll just say that on the record. All right, so 84% believe we have two-tier justice system, and I can agree with that. I'd agree with the majority tonight. So anyway, so what's up next, guys? Okay, so that was the Second Amendment question. Okay, all right, Robert from Slocum. Let's talk about the IRS, one of my least favorite subjects. Robert, go ahead, buddy.
The IRS, they're, I guess you say they're law enforcement area. Are they actual police officers, and what do they need with the weapons, the body armor, and all that?
100% BD.
Over the last couple of years.
Prove it.
You know,
to me,
it just doesn't make sense why they need that if they're supposedly collecting taxes. You know, the average citizen isn't that dangerous.
Robert, I'd agree with that 100%. And let me tell you, when Nancy Pelosi and her crowd, when we were in the minority, they brought this 87,000 new IRS agents they wanted to hire. And actually, one of the things that was so troubling, I voted against it. Of course, most Republicans did. I can't imagine a Republican did vote for that. If they did, then they did to leave D.C. But anyway, the 87,000 IRS agents, one of the things was they would be able to use deadly force. And I thought, what on earth? Why would we allow an IRS agent to use deadly force? So I brought a little resolution that said bureaucrats to the border. I wanted to send all 87,000 IRS agents who were armed and were approved to use deadly force. I wanted to put them on the border to secure America.
Yeah, we should be back. What's up, Shauna?
The Democrats in power did not, but for sure, this government itself has become the enemy of the people in a lot of ways, and that's the thing that we have to, like Jim and I and many of us, we've realized it, and we all have since Trump was elected, just how corrupt this government is and how more of a ruling class it has become in Washington, D.C. It's not of the people and by the people anymore. It's more about controlling the people, and it's not for the people, it's for the government itself. And so when I say it's a cancer, it really is a cancer here. It continues to grow.
All the good keywords, all the good
tax revenue, and it'll kill them. It'll kill an organism eventually if we don't cut it out. And so our thoughts are
what do they do when they have
these
power?
Government agencies have become really the enemy of the American people. And so whether it's the IRS, you know, they want to arm and come in and like I said, they want to make sure you pay your taxes and send it to Ukraine, but they're not going to make Hunter Biden pay his. And ATF, we had a call prior to that about how they want to all of a sudden make you a felon for having a pistol brace that's been patented for years and used in America to make weapons safer and more accurate. So there are things that are certainly concerning for us here, what we see going on in DC, and it's been eye-opening, like I said, since Trump was elected. And certainly, man, we're going to do our part. I think that you'll see us continue to cut these budgets, try to limit these agencies' power, because our power is in the purse strings, and we know that in the House and where we're starting the appropriations process. And to encourage you, we're working on 12 approach bills. Congress has not passed 12 approach bills in 27 years. And that's our job. I mean, that's our primary job, is to pass budgets. And the good thing about the 12 approach bills we're passing right now, getting off the floor over to the Senate, is there's good policy in them, where we don't allow for CRT to be taught in schools. A lot of things that where government has kind of become a social engineering
Probably
operation, if
the
you will.
one goal.
We're starting to cut that out in policy.
lining,
Certainly,
silver
with the
lining,
border
whatever you
too.
wanna
Part of
call
that
it,
is we're
Trump.
working on trying to make sure we do better
Was he
border
did
policy.
it?
So
He did wake more
anyway,
people
so
up to.
I'm with you, my friend, and these
power
agencies, whether they're
behind the
IRS,
curtain,
ATF,
what
DOJ,
a lot of us
you
would
name
call
one,
deep state,
they're not
which
working
are,
for the American people.
in a lot of cases, unelected.
And so I think I already mentioned this, but 84% of you guys said we have a two-tier justice
And
system.
agencies that
And
run
I would
things.
certainly agree with that. Guys, I've been on the
And
receiving
people
end
that
when you're
get voted
conservative, they
into
come
office
after you.
over and
saying
over and
that.
over again.
So Larry, I'm
who
going
are
to
just
take
there to
one
fill
more
their
question
pockets while the ship sinks.
from Pinkert, Alabama. Larry has a question about Ukraine funding. Go ahead, Larry.
Taking my call. My question is, the money that we're sending to Ukraine, do we have any accountability of where that money is ending
Go with
up?
Sister, go watch the
And do
movie.
you think that some of that money may be funneled back to the
Go see what
Democratic
Sister's
Party?
watching.
There is a lot of
Oh,
money,
that's
I
what
believe,
Sister
Larry, being funneled back. I haven't voted for any of those supplementals for
You come
Ukraine.
back
I
here.
think that my early on my
Oh,
push
my
was
son's
we
ill,
need to
man.
have oversight. I mean, my gosh, Burisma was based in Ukraine, and it's a young democracy, and they're just barely over 30 years old. They have billions of U.S. taxpayer money right now, over $100 billion. Last count I had. And
Not
they're a
to
young
be too
democracy.
much
You don't
of a
think
wet
they're in
blanket
corruption
on
in that
things, but
process? And
30
I've talked
years
to
is old
soldiers where we
for
actually had equipment. We leave on the field at night, and they come up the next morning and be gone. They'd be dropping it off for people. So it is. There is no doubt in my mind that money is finding its way back into America somehow, some way, because it just does not make
Contractors?
sense that there's no oversight. And there's just no way there's not corruption when you're talking about that young a democracy
Construction?
and some of the stuff that we've been seeing and hearing go on. And
So-called humanitarian
I certainly
nonprofits.
would agree that we
Yeah,
don't need to
that
send any
money's
more
making
money to
its way
Ukraine.
back to U.S.
We got to get a
politicians.
handle on that. And man, we got secure on borders, brother. We got people pouring across the U.S. southern border right now. In Yuma, Arizona, we had 106 different countries that came through one small
Yeah,
town.
baby.
And we got 120 in last count, over 120, I'm sure now. 120 is down I had a few weeks ago, of people on the terrorist watch list that have come into this country. And so it's just a matter of time that these open borders, we're worried about borders around the globe and sending money over there. We want to secure our own borders. And so I'm not sending another dime to Ukraine until we agree to secure our own U.S. border. And that's just where I'm at on it. And so I agree with you, my friend. I think in some ways,
well, look,
this money is
Putin
finding its way
finally
back.
went ahead and
Consulting
went back into
agreements,
Ukraine
family members,
because he knew there was going to be no
It
consequences.
just there's no other way that it makes any sense
Yeah.
that we'd send billions of dollars of money with no oversight to other countries and
Because
keep voting
when
to do the
America's
same.
a weak
So let me say this to you guys. We do a More You Know newsletter. It's an award-winning
people like
newsletter.
Putin want to do whatever they
and
want.
It's like, let me say, I said it's an award-winning newsletter, and my staff all looked at me and laughed. But actually, our office is award-winning for constituent services.
Yeah,
Let me say that.
TV.
So we honestly have received 2 awards this year already for workplace environment, and we came in second in Congress for constituent services. So if you need anything, the way to get in touch
You
with
can
us
bet your
is to
ass
subscribe to this
most
newsletter.
wars that have
Just
ever
push
been
star
fought
6
by the
right now
United
where you're at,
States
and it'll get you on our
benefited
newsletter. So then you
the
can reach our
ruling
offices for
class.
anything you need. And we do mobile
Now,
office hours for
by
veterans.
proxy,
Over
sometimes it benefits
3,700
us.
cases we've solved in just over
Because
30
we
some
get
odd
to be
months
good
now.
little
And so,
batteries in the
guys,
system
we're
to
here to
run the
serve you.
machine.
That's our job
And
as,
our
as
lives
Congress.
make it
My
easy.
wife Heather's here. If you come into town, you need tours. It's free to the taxpayer. I tell everybody, but it
But
costs
it's
me more than you'll ever
always
know.
a
She's sitting here on my 35th anniversary tonight doing this with
the
me.
money
31st anniversary.
and the
I'm trying to make
control.
us old before I time. My
It ain't about
31st
making your
anniversary,
life
and we're sitting
better.
here
It's
doing
not
a
about freedom. It's not
town
about
hall with you folks.
liberty.
It's because we
It's not
appreciate
about
the
human
job.
rights.
We're honored to serve, and it's certainly humbling to do this. It's heavy lift. We need your prayers. But subscribe to the newsletter, star 6, and that'll get you in the loop. You'll know when we're coming. If you need help with the IRS, we talked about that tonight. If you need help with the VA, certainly don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to serve. It's an honor to do it. And y'all have a blessed night. Keep our nation in your prayers. I want to encourage you. I think there are great things going on in DC. People think sometimes that struggles are not a part of this process, but that really is what makes a republic great. And democracy is when there's a battle, when there's decisions, when there's arguments to get to the best end for all involved. And so you guys have a blessed evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
It's never going to be the best end for all involved. All right, so they killed the call and stuff. Hold on. All right, so yeah, we ain't leaving messages for him and all that. So yeah, that was a nice little unplanned infomercial for Republicans that say they're going to do something but don't. So yeah, hey, it was interesting if nothing else. And I proved this computer can stream and at least half-ass do a decent job. So that's what really tonight was about, was just checking this third string computer out, making sure I could stream from it. And then touching some again on the Rahimi case. I really don't think that case is going to come down good. I got that feeling. Now, there are other cases coming up that will be much better. One way to think about this, though, is that Rahimi is a civil case, and the other cases that are coming that are challenging some of these things in 922 are actual criminal cases. So you have a civil case from Rahimi, which Rahimi's not a good dude by all accounts. He's whatever. I don't care about him. But that's civil. So whichever way that lands, that's still civil court. But we do have a couple of good criminal cases coming up. And by good criminal cases, meaning like one of the cases, I can't remember the name of it offhand. The dude basically got charged with a misdemeanor that would have carried a 2-year jail sentence. So he was a prohibited possessor, nonviolent. It was some welfare, financial aid kind of deal. He didn't report some income and lost his firearms rights. And it's been decades ago, I guess. And since then, he's been a very law-abiding person. So that case is coming. That's the case. And Four Boxes Diner did a video on it. But that's the case that Garland and the DOJ were really scared that the Supreme Court would take, because it knocks down it's 922G, maybe, don't quote me offhand. It's part of 922, part of the criminal prohibition part of the prohibition on, say, felons or people that were charged with misdemeanors that were punishable by over 2 years in jail, or at least 2 years in jail, or over 2 years in jail, whichever way you want to state it. Basically taking their Second Amendment rights away for a lifetime over something that was nonviolent and all that. So we'll see where that case lands when that one comes up. Again, we have, let me switch this around. We have some really busy times ahead of us. Yeah, BB, it's why I've come to try to start talking about mostly law-abiding people. Because let's face it, a good person, a just person, is going to try to conduct their life in a way where they don't wrongfully deprive someone else of life, liberty, or property. That's a just person living a just life. We don't want to screw anybody over. We don't want to rob anybody. Don't want to rape anybody. Don't want to murder anybody. All that. We don't want to do anything that will wrongly deprive someone else of life, liberty, or property. And there are a lot of laws on the books that have nothing to do with that. They are just the government telling you can't do something. And a lot of us will break those laws. Hell, some laws there's so many of them, you don't even know which laws you're breaking. And there are a lot of felony laws like that. This is a felony, that's a felony. And you have no idea that you've actually broken a law. So I say mostly law-abiding these days. At least that's what I'm trying to kind of focus on. In Rahimi, when we listen to that, you'll hear that the state argues about someone being dangerous and then someone being law-abiding or mostly law-abiding. Those two things working together. And it's the state making a very diluted argument that basically they're right, everybody else is wrong. And that's what the whole argument comes down to. So sometime this weekend, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, just depending. We're going to do that. Quit, my little helper. So we're going to go through the oil arguments. It's an hour and a half. I wouldn't plan on being this late tonight. I'm sure the turkeys are already going, or at least they will be soon. I'm going to bounce over there with them. So I'm going to end this one here. So be on the lookout, man. Brothers, I should be streaming a little bit more often here and there. I've got some stuff starting to calm down, and I'm starting to kind of get things ironed out. So hopefully we should be streaming a little more often. I'm going to have to find your charger. Where did your charger go? Because your charger was plugged in right there. Sorry, I got my son over here. So yeah, I'm going to end it here. And if you guys aren't following the Tactical Turkeys, look up Tactical Turkeys, bounce over there with them. Dark will be going live after Tactical Turkeys. I'm sure I've more than likely missed Polite Society podcast already. And there's so many cool cats and so many people out there that are actually, freedom loving people that I try to keep up with, that I'm like slacking on. I'm just behind. So, but anyway, you guys be cool. As usual, end it like we always say. You perps be cool. Keep that thing on you at all times. Be safe. I really mean that, guys. You guys be safe. Yeah, man, dude, it's always good to sit around and shoot shit with you guys. It really is. And I missed it. So should be back on more often, but you guys take it easy. Follow the turkeys. Follow DLD if you're not following DLD. Polite Society podcast. So many guys I can't mention off the top of my head, man. So, but all you guys be cool. And we're going to shut this one down. Later, perps.